Click it. Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unkyjoe here. Unkyjoe's Playhouse. Thank you once again for coming to join me on a Saturday morning. I'm sure you all have better things to do, but yet here you are with me, and I just want you to know how appreciative I am of that fact. I'm a year older today. Well, not today. Actually, back in January, I was a year older, so I'm officially that age. We're going to talk about that today and a whole bunch more. But first, the weather. Yeah, the weather. Let me see if I can get this arranged here. I don't think I've seen as kooky weather as I've ever seen this year in my whole life. Well, maybe with the exception of a couple of years ago when we had that huge freeze here in Texas and we lost power and all that stuff. That was weird. But this has been exceptionally weird. And not because of the temperatures, because it's Texas and temperatures kind of are all over the place in the wintertime, if you can even call it that. Now, what I'm talking about is the fact that we've had hardly any rain at all for the past 3-4 years. And normally it rains pretty regular here. In fact, they used to tell me that we used to get as much rain in San Antonio as they got in Washington State. I don't know whether that's true. A few years ago it was. I looked it up and it said, yeah, we get about the same average rainfall. But these past few years, we haven't gotten squat as far as rain goes. And I love the rain. I love the thunderstorms and just gentle rainstorms, and that is the one thing my body tells me, or my mind tells me, has not been right. It's just not right. Something's not right with the rain. So for whatever reason, all the moisture's kind of moved out of this area. I don't know whether they're playing with the weather. You know, we can't believe anything we're told these days on the news and TV, and so who knows? Maybe they are manipulating the weather. All I can tell you is it ain't been raining here. Now, the warm weather, as you can see, next week is going to be beautiful. It might as well be spring. In fact, late spring, because it's in the mid-80s. And I've taken advantage of that fact that we've had some fairly decent weather here and gotten quite a few things done around the old homestead. So that's a benefit. We get, more time you can go outside, and the more time, frankly, you can spend outside and out from behind your computer and out in the fresh air and the sunshine, the better off you'll be anyway. And so it's been a wonderful, wonderful time, weather-wise. My birthday was on the 22nd of January. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. And my father's birthday was on January 22nd. And oddly enough, for whatever reason, my father-in-law's birthday is January 22nd. So we got together, and we have a regular thing now where my father-in-law comes over every Thursday, and we shoot the breeze, and we make him dinner every Thursday night. And it's just kind of a fun thing to do. He's 80 years old. He turned 80 on January 22nd. I turned 60 on the 22nd. You probably notice I'm not wearing my glasses anymore because my eyesight's gotten so bad now that the monitors are just far enough away from my far-sighted eyeballs to read without needing glasses. In fact, now when I use the glasses, I got to do this for it to focus. So I've gotten, I guess, more farsighted. So one of the blessings of old age, right? Anyway, we all got together and celebrated. We made homemade chicken enchiladas and Spanish rice, and we had people bring dishes in. We had about probably 10 or 15 people. And right before the event was scheduled, if you don't remember back that far, on the weekend, there was the polar vortex came down and was going to do rain, freezing rain and sleet and snow and whatnot. And sure enough, we ended the party about 5 o'clock. We started sending people home because it was starting to get dark and we didn't want people to be stuck here in the weather. And friends of ours that live up in Austin and that area, they decided not to come down wisely slow because the storm hit them before it hit us. But suffice it to say, we had some cold weather. We had some frozen precipitation, and we just snuggled up here in the house, safe and secure and comfortable. And I made sure the batteries were fully charged before the weather came. And we survived, and we had a good time. So that's why I didn't do the live stream at the end of January. And then after that, I just frankly didn't feel like it. So I had a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, a lot of stuff. And but here I am today. So I'm glad again, we're able to come and visit with me. Let's get a 5x5 out in the chat. I haven't even looked to see if everybody can hear me okay. Yeah, it appears so. Okay, cool. Keep your eye out for Sakura. If he shows up today, great. If not, he might be getting some much needed rest or sleep. It would be nice to see him, but be on your best behavior because I've got a low tolerance for bullshit, and I don't want to have to toss anybody off the live stream. Not that I would do that. You know what a sweetheart I am. All right. So next, what's our next topic? So anyway, yeah, let's go back to my birthday. So really, I never let birthdays affect me. But this year, for whatever reason, it's just a number, right? But this year, for whatever reason, my 60th birthday was really kind of a turning point for me because for those of you that don't know, I'm going to go ahead and take my retirement, finances allowing, at 62. Now, I'm going to continue to work, whatever I can work without having to pay a bunch of income taxes on. But it just made me think, people in my family tend to live a long time. A pretty healthy stock of people. There's always the odd bird, but like my oldest sister, brother, they're in the late 70s, I think. I don't know. I know my sister Pat is already 73, and but she's still kicking. We're all still kicking, and she's had lung. She's lost half of her lung in her life, and she's epileptic. I got another sister who's epileptic, but other than that, we're fairly healthy. We live a long time, is my point. So I'm faced with the fact that living a long time does not mean you're going to be healthy that whole time. What it does mean is you're going to linger, and you better have a plan in place. I've seen way too many times people I love didn't have a plan in place. They lived a long time, but they didn't have a plan in place, and they ended up depending on the mercy and the love of other people to take care of them. I don't have any children. I don't have any nieces and nephews they have their own lives. So I have no one to care for me other than my spouse. And frankly, my spouse has already had some major medical conditions, his heart valve problem. Just from, without any foreknowledge or any other information, I will probably outlive my spouse. So I have to be able to take care of myself and stay out of the hospital or stay out of hospice. So long life, longevity is nothing if you're not healthy. And I have realized that at 60, I've kind of gotten really sedentary in my old age, and I need to do something about it. Now is the time. It's never too late to start exercising and doing what you need to do to stay healthy. But I'm just talking about basic stuff like, can you get yourself up off the floor without having to crawl up on some piece of furniture. That's item number one. If you can't do that at 60 years old, you're really in bad shape or sad shape. And I tried it on my spouse. He's only 54, soon to be 55, and he can't without help or without crawling up on something. So we both have that problem. So that was kind of my reckoning, my wake up moment that, hey, I need to do something about my physical strength. And part of that is because I sit in front of these computers all day. So one of my goals this new year is to I have a schedule now to where I'm allowed to be in front of a computer and doing work on it. And then outside of that timeline, I have to be up and moving and mobile and working on physical projects so that I can keep my physicality up. So that's gonna bring me to my next story, which is or my next subject, which is the pool. Now, we put the pool to bed months ago. It's still sitting there. It's still working mainly as a water storage device in case we have an emergency or a fire, God forbid, something like that. I keep it about half full. And but you know, the weeds have grown up around it, a bunch of stuff like this. So I've got a neighbor who needed some work, so we pay good wages. So we hired that neighbor. I needed a few things done. I've got some cameras around the house that are no longer working. I had some, we ran, don't ever buy the 1,000 feet of Cat 5 wire that they sell for 80 or 90 bucks, because it's basically copper clad aluminum, and it's also not UV protected. So you leave that stuff out in the sun just 4 or 5 years, it starts cracking and the wire breaks and you get water infiltration, all kinds of other stuff. So I had a camera on the front porch that wasn't working. I had a camera out looking out to the pool and my solar panel array. It wasn't working. Then I had another camera go out, my backyard west camera that covers the bird feeder area where the ducks congregate. That one went out. So I hired this young man who lives next door to me. I've known him all his life, and throw a little money his way to help me around here. And the other thing he did, so we got the cameras working. So let me see if I can't figure that up. Upper monitor with cam. There we go. So we got the old pool cam working again. The problem was this camera faces northwest. So this, let me point to it here. Let me transition. So this camera points north is over here by this tree, and west is over here. If you can see that, west is over here, north is over here. And so that when it rains, the rains typically come out of the west or the north. What I didn't realize, even though this camera is made to be an outdoor non-PTZ camera, it is an outdoor camera. When my nephew put it in, he did not use, there's a little boot that's on the Cat 5 connector, and it should be facing down when you plug in the Cat 5 connector. Then a sleeve goes over that. The idea is if water gets in there, it'll drain out and it won't collect. Well, he didn't know that. No fault of his own. He just didn't know. And he had it at kind of an angle. And what I guess had happened is water had accumulated in there, and then the PoE shorted out and fried the connector and the camera. Because when the young man went up there to replace the camera, we tried a new one with the old cable, and it came right on. Now, I went ahead and had him replace the cable since then as well. So we've got a new Cat 6 cable out there that is UV protected. It's an outdoor rated cable. Should last a lifetime, I'm hoping. And then the other camera that was not working was the front porch camera, which was a Reolink camera. This is why I'm not a big fan of Reolink cameras. I've never had really good luck with them. And pardon my front porch, it is a bit of a mess. But we're working on a project, and that becomes our work area where we cut things. And but it wasn't working, so I have a bunch of cameras laying around, so I had them replace that as well. Come back to me here. All right, so that's working. So we got that done. I'm resting easy now that that's done. The other thing I had him do, and we'll talk about this now, is my solar panels. So my solar panels, I have kind of neglected them. I put them in all this while back, and I just didn't keep up with the weed eating and the maintenance, and we had some ivy growing up it, and I've had some trouble with the cables, not getting water in them, but just, because they're laying on the ground, they need to be put in conduit, that kind of thing. The plan was to move all these panels to the back area here where these other panels are that I'll show you. So right here where these other panels are here, this is going to be my solar area where we have the panels. But for those of you that live on a budget like I do, you realize really quickly that copper cable is expensive. It ain't cheap. And when you got to go a couple 100 feet, it's really expensive. It's if I were to buy 100 feet of solar wire, it would cost me over $100. And that's only, is that 100 feet for two of them or 50 for two? I think it's only 100 feet total. 50 feet each way is $100. And the cable ain't cheap. So I'm the king of cheap, you know that. So that's why these panels have not been moved yet, because I have enough wire to keep them connected. And, I've been doing the math in my head for a while. I was telling you, I'm under paneled. First I was under batteried. I didn't have enough battery to make it through the night. I have that now. I have enough battery to make it through the night, at least on my 48 volt system. My 24 volt system, which is the rack and all that, no, not really. But, I have different reasons for that. But the point is that I thought I was under paneled. In fact, I went out and bought 5 brand new bifacial 100 or 200 watt bifacial panels about 2 months ago, and I have since put them into the string and hooked them up. But it was when I had the young man next door go through that solar array and move it and clean the panels off, and clean up all the stuff around it, that my solar production went through the roof, literally through the roof. I noticed the other day that, and I'll bring it up here if the monkey can figure out how to do it. Let's see, left monitor with cam. So we'll just go over here right now and take a look. So my 24 volt system, now it's a beautiful, bright, sunny morning. It's about 10 o'clock. It appears that the shadow is off of all of the panels. None of the panels are shadowed. They get a full view of the southern sky. And you can see that my 24 volt system, which runs my rack and my studio stuff here that you're looking at, is pretty much keeping up. It's closer to about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'll be able to start meeting that demand. Now, I don't have enough battery storage on this, and it's under paneled. But something I bought the other day, I got another Victron solar charge controller, and I have a set of 4 400 watt panels that I'm going to hook into this 24 volt system in order to have it produce a little more electricity during the day. And then as I can afford the batteries, we'll get some more batteries for it. But here's what I wanted to show you, and that is my production. So here's my production on January 25th. I did about 3.23 kilowatt hours on that day. And you can see now it has jumped up to 8.8, 7.9, 7.6, 7.4. Yesterday was cloudy. And then already yesterday, hang on a second. We go previous week. We go this week. So as you can see, 6.5, let's go here, 6.2. So from 7 or 8 kilowatt hours up to 10 and 11 kilowatt hours now, just by clearing out those panels. So quite a big difference. The big one is the 48 volt panel. So as you can see, I am way overproducing electricity. The battery is now, it will be charged to 100% by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. As you can see, my battery charging has been much better. Let's see, this is for this week. So as you can see also, now the heat was on. I had some space heaters turned on and they use a lot of electricity. But here's my production. So we're looking at 13 kilowatt hours, 13 kilowatt hours, 11.3, 9.0, and then today. So yesterday was a bit more cloudy than the day before. But as you can see, I'm keeping up pretty much with consumption. In fact, yesterday at about 3 o'clock, I noticed these panels were not producing any solar because the battery was fully charged. And this system down here, which is the EG4, which is typically for my mini splits and my home air conditioners, was producing so much extra power that it was charging the battery without needing this solar over here. And the Victron system is smart enough to know, well, we'll just turn it off. We don't need it. That indicates now I'm overproducing, and I should probably invest in something like a shunt to store that excess solar energy. And my thought is my water heater would be the best way to spend that money. But now just the simple act, the point I'm trying to make is the simple act of cleaning those panels and clearing the crap in front of them led to a huge spike in productivity and power, now to the point where I need to find somewhere else to place that power. So there you go. Long term, no more spending on solar right now. Like I say, it is producing what I need it to produce. I did buy another battery. In fact, you probably won't be able to see it, but behind me there's a battery box back there, and below that, this is for that battery that I built of my own, where the sparks flew. I'm going to, right now it's just kind of sitting there with a cover on it, the raw cells. So I bought a battery box for about $250 right before Christmas. That came in. So those cells are going to go in there. I'm going to build my own battery. And then underneath that, I had an opportunity to buy another battery for about $600 right after Christmas. So I jumped on it before the price went up. And so I'm going to be adding actually 5 kilowatts of storage to this system. So now my 48 volt system will actually get me through a whole day with no sun. The battery would last a whole day and power the house, and without solar. So I can survive one day in theory. But, I also get I start pinching the pennies pretty well. I keep a close eye on the weather, and when it looks like it's going to be inclement weather, I keep the batteries charged a little bit more. Now, the 24 volt system, I run it on a what is called optimized with battery life, so that typically this battery won't go below 70 or 75% on the rack. And then, like I say, I've got it set up back in the back so that I can take the plug from my rack and I can plug it into any of these other solar setups that I have. I have a plug back there, just plug it into a different plug, and it can be using the power coming off the 48 volt system instead of the 24 volt. So I got lots of options, as you can see. So that is the solar. Let's see here. What else have I got? Let's go see what y'all are talking about in the chat. So let's say hello to everybody. James Scout and Hein Christensen, good morning to you. James, I hope you're doing well. Nerd on Elm Street. New one, Rusty J65 2008. Hello to you. And welcome to the live stream and the chat. Who else is on here? Kakarut 1000. Good to see you here. Good to see you in the live stream. Grish is here. Who else? I'm here. Evidently I'm here. I didn't know that. William Wilkinson is here. Let's see. If the James Scott writes, if the chemtrails and all those passenger jets are spraying out, they use them to control the weather. That's what I'm told. That's what I'm told. That's right. No, we can't, James. No, we can't. 619 writes, the other week I got hit from behind at a stoplight. I'm still recovering. Yeah, dude, don't. I got a compressed cervical. Get yourself an attorney and make sure you get a good doctor. Because long term, dude, this has caused more health effects than even my diabetes and long term pain. So don't mess around with that. I got hit so hard it knocked the radio out of my dash. And but get a good attorney and make sure you have medical coverage for the rest of your life, because it's going to wait. It's going to deteriorate slowly. It's going to cause your C-section of your spine to do all kinds of crazy shit with those nerves. And trust me, sometimes it takes months for those bad effects to show up. Get a good doctor. So I'm sorry to hear about that. Yeah, copper-clad aluminum should be illegal, Grish. I agree. Well, they are. Amazon does force them to market CCA, so that you know it. But when I was a younger lad, I didn't know what that meant. I just shopped basically on price. And, the devil's in the details. Inside of a modern office building, that won't be a problem at all. One, it's not being exposed to UV, and if you use the right connectors, you're probably... I've got offices I wired 20 years ago with this stuff that are still working fine. So it does have its place. It just doesn't have its place outside, and not with voltage going through it. I wouldn't put these cables on a PoE system at all. You're really kind of taking a chance. So, yeah. And the problem 619 is it's not a couple of extra bucks. It's a magnitude more expensive. So in my primitive ape brain, I have to justify that expense. So I know I can go 4 or 5 years with the cable being outside and it'll work fine. Versus the price of the unshielded or the shielded. So what I do, I don't buy a box of the cable. I buy it in 50-foot or 100-foot lengths. Because, I know how long my house is and how far it is to the cameras. And then I just wind up the extra cable for later. I don't even cut it and put new ends on it. I get a pre-made cable that's rated for outdoor use because it's cheaper. For whatever reason, these pre-made cables are cheaper. They work well, and I've never had to warranty one of them. So, knock wood. Hopefully they'll last as long. So, that's one idea. Because I can't afford 1,000 feet of. If you price that shit, it ain't cheap. Let's see. Wise cameras, all Wi-Fi. No, I like wired cameras. And they should, in theory, do well out here because we don't have as much wireless interference as you would in the city. But I prefer a wire on my camera. Less chance of it getting hacked. Yeah, let's see. Thank you. Yeah, it can sometimes be 2.5 times as expensive. Replaced a few years ago, Cat 8. Well, there you go. Cool. Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, go for it, man. That's a good idea. Not a bad idea at all. Okay, so what's my next? What's my next one here? Okay, so I touched on this briefly in over on Discord, and let's catch up here. So for those of you that are new here, don't know how this might work, we have the live stream here for an hour, and then we're going to go over to Discord to the after party, and we just get together and it's a chat thing. We get over there and bust one another's balls and talk about what we're doing, what we're not doing, that kind of thing. To find any of those links, you need to go to unkyjoesplayhouse.com or unkyjoesplayhouse.net. And I urge you to sign up. We don't share your information with anybody, no advertisers, no nothing, just only ourselves. We just use it as a way to keep in contact with you. Our website is on there, all of our announcements of our videos and that kind of thing, and I occasionally post on there. But also in there is our social media links. So you can find links to Discord and all the other stuff we use. Also, if you want to donate, Patreon, YouTube, join function, send us a check via PayPal, whatever you want to do, that's where you can do it. You'll find all those links over there. So at 11 o'clock, we'll wrap up here. We'll go over to the after party for about an hour. Depends on how much time I have as to how long I stay. And then we'll do it all again next weekend. So that's how that works. So with that out of the way, let's get on to our next subject that I posted over in Discord, is about the Windows 11. You know, if you're just to look on social media, oh, the Windows 11, the end of Windows, Windows 11. People are mad at Windows. They're dropping it in droves. Just not true, folks. People are not dumping Windows. The world runs on Windows. In fact, Windows 11 has now reached 1 billion users. Because, why? Microsoft pulled the Apple Play and said, okay, we're not going to support Windows 10 anymore. You got to go to Windows 11. And then they added insult to injury by requiring you to have the TPM and all this other stuff on there, which I think is not the best of ideas, be that as it may. And then, oh, this is the year that Linux is going to take over the desktop. No, actually, it's not. Linux will never, mark my words, I'm an old man, I know what I'm talking about. Linux will never take over the desktop, and rightly so. It shouldn't. It's a hot pile of shit. It really is. Linux on the desktop. Linux in general is great. You know, the idea of it, the open source community. But I tell you, the people that pull the levers and push the switches in the background have just become, like everything else, they've allowed it to become poisoned with politics. And instead of focusing on making a good OS that everybody can use and maybe welcoming people into the community of Linux, they've just kind of politicized the whole thing, and it left a bad taste in most people's mouths. Most people don't know what they're running. I mean, I run into clients all the time. You're running Windows 10 or Windows 11? I don't know. Windows. And a lot of times they're running Windows 7. They don't even know, especially if I get newer clients in. They've just been running all these years and never ran into a problem. The only time they pay attention is when they run into a problem. And that's probably, I would say, the majority of Windows users. A lot of people don't even have computers in their home anymore. They have these devices, or they have tablets, or something of that sort. They don't even bother with a computer. It's too much trouble. I hate it when I hear that Windows is market share. Yeah, the market share is down overall because, people are tired of the AI bullshit that they've tied into the operating system, and Microsoft promises they're going to do better. I've heard that my whole life, folks, And I have played with every operating system out there. I got my start with the VIC-20, Commodore 64. I've used Atari. I've used Tandy. I've used IBM. I've used Southwest Technical Products, terminals. I've used, you name it. I've been there and done that. And the reason I keep running back to Windows is because Windows works. So denying that is just like denying your nose to spite your face. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I don't like a lot of the things that Windows has done over the years. I don't like the way they've kind of pushed Windows 10 to the side, but I don't have any affinity to running an old version of Windows. I just don't care. I just want my operating system to work and get the hell out of the way and let me do my work, which is specifically why I went to Windows 11 long-term support channel, because it doesn't have all that bullshit in there. It just gets out of the way, and when I need something, I'm forced to load it, just like I would on Linux. See, that's the great thing about Linux, is most of the installations you download are clean, and you add what you need to it. I like that idea, and I like that I can do that with Windows now. That was kind of the epiphany I had. So Linux is great, but there's just too many variations of the desktop up there. Too many variations on file explorers. Just more does not mean better. Everybody bitches about Windows File Explorer. But have you used the file explorers under Linux? Oh my goodness, and I use them both, and you should too. I'm especially fond here lately of Rocky Linux. I've been playing around with that a little bit, and I really like the installer. And I'm an old Red Hat fan from way back when, anyway. But I like the installer, and that's usually what it's something I never liked about Ubuntu is their damn installer. It's just not very intuitive. I like Debian, I like Rocky Linux, but even them, they're fighting now over Wayland versus X11 versus. I'm just like, for goodness sake, and they're talking about who the next Linus is going to be, or Linus for Linux is going to be, because evidently he's going to quit having all the say so over the Linux Foundation or whatever it is he has say so over. And again, I'm just talking out my rear end. This is just what I heard in passing. I wish they would get their shit together. Linux is, and look, I'm not talking trash. I'm talking, you go back on my videos, and I made a serious commitment to Linux way back when and ran my whole business on it, and it just wasn't ready for prime time. And that's okay, because it is good for other things. I mean, it's probably one of the best server operating systems I've ever used. I do appreciate it. But it's not the end of Windows. It's not the end of Microsoft until somebody comes on the scene with a whole batch of software that companies can use to replace. Because the go-to is, Windows. The hell, the go-to is pretty much Office 365, and most companies or a lot of companies are using their online service. I think that's a mistake. I think guys like me that know how to build servers, networks, we're kind of a dying breed. But when you get to the right client and you show them what it's going to cost to run their shit in the cloud versus what it's going to cost to do a small investment for their network to run it locally, they see the light and they understand. So it's up to guys like me that still have these skills to teach the other guys that don't have these skills how to make all this stuff work. I don't see self-hosted stuff in businesses going anywhere. In fact, I think it's going to be like a pendulum, and you're going to see it swinging back. They're going to start bringing more, especially as AI kicks into gear. You're going to see more companies bring their stuff back in the house and depend less on the cloud. That's just where I see it going. And trust me, I've had recently, just this year alone, I've had 3 or 4 people contact me on, hey, what would it take to get us off of, the word to spread what I can do with my compliance. They're like, what can we do to get off of Office 365 and just run everything locally and have control over our own files? And they're surprised when they see how low the cost is for something like that. Because I'm not going to go into a small mom and pop business and sell them a brand new server from Dell. I'm going to find them something online that's used, broken in, and I'll buy 2 of them instead of 1, so they have redundancy. And then I'll put something like Proxmox on it, and then set up an Active Directory network. And that's why these Windows Lab series that I've started up doing again are going to come in handy, because they're going to show you the process I use for setting up a locally hosted Windows network. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have Linux in it, and you can't have Macs in it. You can't have tablets and phones and whatnot. Yeah, everything you can use with any cloud system, you'll be able to do with our locally self-hosted system. And I just think it's a good way. It's a good way to spend money. So when you tie that in with the lower cost, non-recurring costs of cloud services, businesses start to see, oh, cool. And the IRS has reduced that requirement for you to amortize stuff like expenses over years. So now if you purchase a server that's under $2,500, you can claim it all in 1 year. You don't have to amortize it like you would a vehicle or a piece of heavy duty industrial equipment like a pump for a oil well. You have to amortize that over X number of years. You can't take the whole deduction in 1 year. That's helping spur these sales on of even and used equipment. It applies to. You can buy used equipment and take that whole value in the cost of doing business on your taxes. So keep that in mind as well. Now I'm in my Windows labs. I'm doing this on Hyper-V, showing you the power of Hyper-V. But you can do this Windows lab like I'm doing it under Proxmox as well. In fact, one of the benefits of Proxmox is, one, it's easier to use. I think it's got a better interface. It's easier to pass through devices to virtual machines. It's got a lot of people developing a lot of software for it. How that Prox menu X is, if you haven't used it, you need to go put it on your Proxmox server. That is really quite a nice piece of kit on there. And all the stuff you can do with Proxmox, including containerization. A lot of people don't know this, but Hyper-V supports containerization. The problem is it's a huge pain in the ass. Hyper-V supports pass-through somewhat, but again, it's a huge pain in the ass. This is one of the reasons I spun up a Windows 2025 server, because I want to play with that stuff. But the time I've taken over the years to spend on Hyper-V, getting it to work the way I want, Proxmox just works right out of the box. And especially now with containerization and the fact that you can pretty much run any Docker container under Proxmox with a little bit of modification. I mean, why not, right? But there are still some of us that like Hyper-V as well. I'm one of those people. So the videos I'll be doing will give you the best of both worlds. If you want to set up a Windows lab under Proxmox, why not? Sure. In fact, with most of my clients, it's the way I do it. It's only under special circumstances I use Hyper-V anymore for my virtualization platform. And I just don't use ESXi anymore at all. Well, I take that back. I use it back here on my retro machine to run retro operating systems. I run the VMware workstation. But yeah, the native container support in Hyper-V is difficult at best to get to work. It's not 100% compatible. You could overcome that by just installing something like a Docker, doing a Docker install on a virtual machine. Linux runs very well under Hyper-V. All of the desktop operating systems, with a few quirks and little adjustments you got to do, like any other operating system. But it works relatively well. And so, and that's what I try to show in a lot of these videos I still do about Hyper-V, is you do have options. So, but I found it interesting that I didn't realize, I had known years ago that you could run some containers, or that Hyper-V had some sort of containerization features in it, but I didn't know exactly what they were. I still don't. But yeah. Let me look here. What's next? Okay, let's talk about my last video. So my last video is part of the lab series, and it's part of the Proxmox lab series. So there's a Proxmox lab series, there's a Windows lab series, and some will overlap. And I'm trying to, my numbering and naming scheme this year has changed to reflect that. And but what I'm trying to show people is the flexibility you have, especially with a home lab. For example, I've kind of always avoided TrueNAS because of the complexity, and I don't know how ZFS works, and I don't understand it really well. But I made a commitment last year to learning how to embrace ZFS and use it for a good purpose. So that's what that TrueNAS video was about. I got Big Bertha back there. Thank you, Sakura, for helping me find that unit. Money well spent. Do I regret the purchase? No, not at all. Even though it's not running all the time, when it does run, I have a lot of fun with it. And you can see the kind of power it gives you if you have the right equipment. So I'm running a TrueNAS, something I could only dream of just 5-10 years ago. is running a TrueNAS server like this with all those drives in there. And eventually I will fill that thing up with older spinning rust hard drives. Now there is some question of whether spinning up hard drives and spinning them back down and not keeping them running on a regular basis will add to their early death. But I'm not really concerned about that. These drives are used as an archival drive, archival storage. So they're offline and they're cold storage, and they're only there in the event of a catastrophe of some sort, so I don't have to go to my neighbor or to my relative's house and go, give me that backup drive I gave you because my house, God forbid, burned to the ground. This is near enough to me to where if I have a drive fail or a Synology, say I have the power supply fail in the Synology and I have to wait a few days to get it back. Well, I've got a backup NAS that I can switch over for a short while and use while I was waiting for the repairs on my other one. So it's good to have offline archival storage. And we could even set it up to where it stayed online and just got synchronized automatically with free file sync. That was what I was hoping to get across or come across in that video. So, data storage to me is very, very important. I have a lot of stuff I store locally, old versions of applications that I can't get anymore because they still run under a certain operating system I need them to run under. This is why it's very important for you to have your own archival storage. YouTube articles that I can't, YouTube doesn't make it easy to download them. That's why I have the YouTube Tube Archivist. And I store all that on my NAS. And I have Wikipedia, all the wiki articles. I have local copies of them in case the internet goes down and I need access to that. And that's part of the fun of running a home lab, is I can kind of simulate the internet right here in my own home. And our internet connections have gotten so much better, we can now access them from off-site. And it's a lot of fun setting up these servers and making this old equipment run like it's new again. The studio, as you can see, is a work in progress. I've got a light box now finally behind me, and I utilize this desk a lot. And I've been doing a really good job of keeping it clean, keeping it non-cluttered. In fact, I just cleared it off the other day. The studio as a whole needs a cleansing. So I'm going to go through this next month in March and start pulling my bins down, and anything I haven't used in the last year, it's going in the kip, as they say over in Europe or whatever. Is it the kip? Yeah, it's going in the trash. I'm not going to recycle it. I don't have time to drag this stuff down to recycling, so it's going in the trash. It's going back to the earth where it came from. So blame me if you want to. That's what I'm going to do, because I can no longer keep tons of stuff. I want to minimize the stuff I have, right? I've spent my whole life accumulating stuff that I don't need to take with me. I don't want this to be somebody else's problem when I'm gone, is my point. So stuff I haven't used in years, I'm not gonna hang on to it, and I'm gonna let go. If I haven't used it in X number of time, then that means I don't need it. Now, what would be great is if y'all lived where I live and you wanted this shit, because I would just set it outside. You could drive by and pick it up. So if anybody lives local to me in the San Antonio, Austin, Houston area, and you want to drive up here and go through some stuff, let me know. Send an email to unkyjoesplayhouse@gmail.com. I'll consider it, and we'll arrange a meeting, and you can come pick through this stuff before I throw some of it away. But the majority of it is I don't have any use for it. It's going to go in the trash, and I just don't have the means to get it to people who could give it new life or a new home. But it's got to be done, because I constantly am tripping over my own feet because I've just run out of space to store things. So, all right, well, let's go back out to the chat. See what else is going on. Let's see. 619 writes, my friend and I picked up 20 times 400-watt panels for free. Just needed to hook. I hate you. No, I don't hate you. 20 400-watt panels for free. Oh my God. I wish I had friends like yours. That would give me all I need to power this whole entire house. That I could spend money on battery. Well, anybody runs across 20 free 400-watt solar panels, let me know. It'd be worth it to hire somebody to go take a truck and pick them up for me. Let's see. Yeah, dude, 619, if you were hit hard enough for your rear view mirror to end up in your back seat, you definitely want to not only go see a chiropractor, but see a bone, what do they call it? The people that do bones. You get that because sometimes it takes months for that C injury, the C, whatchamacallit, to show up. I know mine did. Let's see. Cameras are Acrest. You're the Zoron OS. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to be doing, is it Zoron or Zorro? I thought that was Casa OS. I thought they were all the same. I know, I watched a video where, Morton did a video on his, Zima. Is it Zima OS? Maybe I'm thinking of something different. And I've used, they call it Casa OS when you don't run the one that's for the board. I don't know how I feel about Casa OS. I need to play with it a bit more. So, and that's one of the other things I'm going to have. I've now been able to schedule my time such as I'm able to carve away times to focus completely on making new videos and researching subjects a little bit more thoroughly than I do, rather than just kind of jumping into it. So, and one of those is going to be Casa OS. Yeah, Linux as a server is great. Smartphones can be more powerful than a computer, definitely. Everything revolves around Microsoft 365. Yeah, but they still, fortunately for us, you can still buy local copies of Office 2024. I know, because I bought a bunch of them here just in the last year. Yeah, I feel your pain, 619. You need a Sakura in your life. Hey, Jason made it here. Good to see you, Jason. Hope you're doing well. You need a Sakura. You need a Linux friends who won't judge you in your life. And you're going to have to, hell, I'll help you. Send me an email. I'll help you if I can. Because it's worth overcoming the obstacles to Linux to use it. So Grish writes, go back to the old school setups as we used to have. Tried and tested. Sure, you won't have all the cool Microsoft. You mean the stuff you don't use? And yeah, you do have, there is autosave. There is versioning. Synology's had it for years. You can use their Office suite. So, and there are ways to make Microsoft, the local copy, do the autosave and do the sharing as well. But I very seldom have people want to collaborate on a document together. Usually one person is editing, the other person is proofreading. They tell them, no, I want these changes, and it goes back to the original author. Very seldom do I have two people collaborating on a document. In fact, until they're explained you can do that, like under SharePoint, they have no idea. And now don't get me wrong, they're all excited they can do it, but I don't find them continually using that feature as time goes on. That's just my anecdotal evidence, right? So I don't know that it's a big thing that people use collaboratively. Let's see. What about old AC adapter and wires? Yeah, been cleaning my office and it seems it's getting messier. Yep. Maybe people need to re-roof and don't want them reinstalled. Oh, yeah, true. True. Well, most insurance now, if you have panels on your roof, they won't insure you. The other thing that insurance companies are doing is they're fucking rural people like me. They're saying, well, you don't live in a major city, you're outside, your fire services are slower to get there, you're too much of a risk, we don't want to insure you. Now, what happens if you have a mortgage on your home and you can't get insurance? That's right. It's called repossession. And they will do it. They will do it. So if you get an insurance company and you're in a rural area, you better hold on to it these days because it's hard to get a new one. 619 writes, I'll take anything to be melted into gold easy. Let's see. Friend's neighbor was upgrading his solar system and getting rid of old panels. I'll take them old panels. That's a good question, Nerd on Elm Street. Nothing's going to change. In fact, I'll have more time to spend on the channel than I do now. And that's good because I enjoy making YouTube videos. In fact, my biggest complaint has been I don't have enough time to make them. I do now. And that's going to be one of the things that it's trying to keep up with, content because I have ADHD bad. I'm getting better. I'm going to tell you my journey with coming back to the Lord. For those of you that aren't religious, just kind of tune out. But one thing that's helped me on my journey back to being a Christian and being with the Lord is learning how to let go of a lot of stuff that I worry about and give it up to Jesus and let Jesus worry about it to keep my mind clear. It has helped me immensely to focus, and just stuff that's out of my control, I got to learn to give it away and let somebody else or some other thing deal with it. So I'm finding it's having a very calming effect on me when I just go, well, can you do anything to change it? No. Is it worth spending time on? No. Oh, then let it go. What's the point, right? Really, what's the point? And it's a piece of knowledge I wish I'd have had when I was in my 20s or 30s. Like, I spent most of my life going around worrying about shit that was totally out of my control. So my goal for retirement or semi-retirement, is just to let it go. Let other people worry about this shit that's out of your control. Step number 1 is stop watching the news because they're just filling your head full of shit. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't read the news. Hang on a second. I got to take this call. Hello, dear. Yeah, my spouse got off early, so thanks for letting me take that call. But my point is, just let it go. It's not worth getting all worried about shit that you can't control. And, if you're so inclined to pray. Join me. Fellowship is good, I've learned. Now, I'm a loner. I've learned a long time ago how to keep myself entertained while being alone. So I'm not afraid of being alone. And music is usually what I use to escape the troubles of life. But here lately, that's moved over to God, which is bringing me back to music. So, yeah, find out whatever it is that makes you happy. Go get paid to do it. And that is the key to life. And then surround yourself with good people with healthy mental attitudes. Don't let the doubters or the bullies bring you down. And just, find your own way in life. That's the only advice I can give you. It's worked for me. Is it perfect? No. But I don't suffer from depression like I used to. The key to not suffering depression is be in a well-lit room most of the day. Go outside, hug a tree, ground yourself on the ground, get one with nature. It helps with depression. And then you won't need to take all those lovely pills that the doctors love to hand out like candy. Well, anyway, we hope you found this episode entertaining and informative. As always, please smash the like button. Give us a thumbs up. Or if you didn't like it, smash the down like button. But give us a reason. Either way, tell us in the comments. Would you like to see something I haven't covered on the channel? Make me an offer and I'll try to cover it. Come over and visit us over on Discord. I'll be there in a couple of minutes. Donate if you're so inclined. We could always use a donation. We take hard drives, If you're going to send me anything, let me know. Don't just send it to me. Let me know ahead of time, and I'll let you know if I'm interested or not. I don't mean to be that way, but it's a lot. I don't want to be your repository. I don't want to be your recycler is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, thanks again for coming to see us. Don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side over on Discord. I got to go. See if I can figure out how to do this.
I've been watching old Unkyjoe. From Texas heat to where the cacti grow. Fixing server solar power in the land. Hoping that his plans all stand. Making life a touch more bright underneath those sun